episode of the Business Showcase, MCTV is going to talk to the owners of Eddy Birchard Funeral Home in Osawatomie, Kansas. We want to find out, who owns the business, why they do it, why they are such a prominent part of Miami County, along with, where they started, where they came from, and how they began. On today's Business Showcase on MCTV. We're here with Joe Morland. Joe Morland with the Eddy Birchard Funeral Home. Joe, how you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you.
There you go. Joe Morland and Eddy Birchard. Now, where's Eddy? Where's Eddy at? I haven't seen him.
Okay. Eddy is actually a last name, and so is Birchard. Those two of the owners of funeral homes that were here in the past in Osawatomie.
So tell us a little bit about the history.
There was, at one point, there was like 4 funeral homes in Osawatomie. There was the Johnson Funeral Home, the Montana Funeral Home, the Birchard Funeral Home, and the Eddy Funeral Home. And in 1973, I came to Osawatomie and bought the Eddy Funeral Home, and then had a partner for several years, Larry and Leila Brown. In 1976, they had bought out Leila's parents on the Birchard side of it, and then we merged them in 1977, and that became the Eddy and the Birchard Funeral Homes. We used the Birchard building, and so we put the Eddy name first. That's how it got its name. And we decided not to put Brown and Morland on the end of it. Just makes it too long.
It didn't work out too well. What got you started? How did you get started in this business? Because this is kind of a unique career choice.
Well, I actually grew up in Mount Hope, Kansas. Went to school there. Went to Kansas State University in dairy science. Was planning on milking cows with Dad. Talked to a friend of mine that was working for the local funeral director there in Mount Hope one Sunday afternoon, and sounded sort of interesting that you were inside, you were outside, you did different things on different days. So I said something to my father about it on that Sunday evening, and he said, "Well, why don't you go to Wichita and see if you can find you a job?" I thought, "Well, don't you need me? I'm, home from college working on the farm."
See, he said it that easy, just.
Oh yeah. And so I said, "Well, I'm better farmer this year than I was last year." He laughed. He said, last year's a lousy farmer. This year is just a bad one. Why don't you go see the inside?" So I went and I did, and I worked for Culberson Mortuary in Wichita for a while. Went to Wichita State a semester, and then decided to go to Cincinnati, to Cincinnati College of Mortuary Science. Just before I did that, I married Jeff's, my son's mother.
Okay. And Jeff, we'll talk to Jeff later on, okay. Right?
Yeah. And so I went to Cincinnati, then came back, went to work for Fry Funeral Home in Olathe. I was there 5 years. And moved to Paola, worked for Wilson Funeral Home for a year and a half, and at the end of that time period is when Chad was coming back to join the Wilsons at the funeral home.
So Chad was the
son of
the owner, the original owner of Wilson and Sons? He was the son of Wilson and Son?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And is still there with them. So.
Well, they're not called Wilson and Son anymore.
No.
Yeah.
But and they encouraged me to Bill Eddy was looking to sell his business, and they knew Chad was coming back, so they encouraged me to buy over here. So I did that, and that's how I got to Osawatomie.
And so when did you acquire Eddy Birchard? When was that? What day?
Well,
What
about
year
the
did you buy
Eddy
it?
part of it in 1973.
Okay.
And then Larry and Leela Brown joined us in our, and we put the two funeral homes together and made it Eddy and Birchard. We were partners for 28 years, and then when they were ready to retire, then in 2005, I bought their half also, and that's how I've had since that point.
Okay.
So I've either been full or half owner since 1973 of it. So.
So now this is a family-owned, family-operated business. You talked about Jeff a little bit ago.
Jeff's my son. He had worked for Sonic Industries for like 20 years. Wanted to come back home. Likes Osawatomie, grew up here, graduated from here. His mother's history even dates even farther back into the, from their families and how long they've been here.
All right, so we're here with the Jeff Morland. Jeff, how you doing?
Great.
And now, Jeff, well, you haven't been here for a while, right?
Yeah, I was gone for about 20 years from Osawatomie. I just moved back about 3 years ago. I did Sonic drive-ins for the past 20 years. After I graduated from Pittsburgh State in 1990, got into Sonic.
How'd you do that?
I was actually at a wedding and talked to Vince Morland, and he talked me into coming to work for him. I lasted 2 weeks. I said, this is not for me. And a year later, I talked to Leon Briley. He was playing golf with my dad, and they got to talking, and so Leon...
Now, who is Leon?
He lives in Paola. He's part of the Briley franchise group. He's the one that has the Sonics here, Lewisburg, Paola, Osawatomie. I think he has 30 or more right now. But I worked for him from 91 till 2001 in Iowa. I had the first Sonic drive-in in the state, which my sister still is a partner with them and still living in Iowa, running that store in Centerville. In 2001, I sold my stores, went to Florida, and started Sonic drive-ins all over again. I was one of the first 20 when I went down there. There was only 20 Sonics at that time. And when I stayed there,
And that was in
2001.
Okay.
We actually, I think, purchased the two drive-ins in 2002. They were closed down. We reopened them. Did wonderful. McCann Sonic Group out of Fort Worth, Texas, came through and purchased us. And one of the conditions was I stayed and helped supervise the rest of their stores in that area. So I stayed there for 10 years doing that with them. Did well, but I just kind of missed home. I missed the snow living in Florida.
No, wait. You missed the snow?
Yes. I mean, Florida's green. Wintertime is just dark green. I mean,
And now you realize we're going to have some viewers out there kind of butting heads against you.
well, the first year I moved back, I think we had a total of 2 inches of snow the whole winter. I was so disappointed. The last 2 winters have been wonderful for me. So I really did miss snow. I just missed all the seasons and the colors, and then I missed family. So that was another reason I came back. That and Dad, we talked for several years about me, if I was really interested, and when he lost one of his employees, he asked if I was really serious, and I said yes, and I moved back 2 weeks later. Gave my notice.
Really?
Which,
That quick?
that quick. I mean, didn't hesitate.
That's family right there.
Yep.
So, now, did you have premonitions back when you were a kid? Because you grew up here,
Oh,
right?
no, I thought there's no way I'd do this. It just, the hours, middle of the night, that kind of stuff. But
Yeah, because you've seen the inside. I mean, when you're a kid, that you
grew up
couldn't.
in the funeral home, the Eddy funeral home. Yeah.
So you've seen them in the toil and the just the work that goes into it.
Yep. And I mean, it's hard work, but then again, there's a lot of satisfaction with it. Dad's enjoyed it. He's done well at it. There's always been talk about him retiring, but that'll never happen, I don't think. He loves his job.
So where do you see this going in the future? I mean, where do you see Eddy Birchard? Okay, let's just say 10 years from now. Where is Eddy Birchard going to be?
Well, we're still going to be here. We very possibly might have another location in the county, But I've seen once you go corporate way, more and more stores, there's less personal service. There's a lot more rules and regulations from state and local governments, hours. And so I'd rather just stay small and help the people of our community when they need it.
That's cool. Now, this is a family-owned, family-operated business, correct?
Correct. There's my dad, Joe. There's myself, and then his wife. They've been married, I think, oh goodness, he'll probably correct me. It's been 2 or 3 years. 2 years. I see him in the background telling me. 2 years. So she works here also.
So can we meet her?
Sure.
Right.
She's probably outside doing some work in the garden, or doing flowers or something.
And that's Gloria, right?
Gloria, yes.
Right, let's go meet Gloria.
Okay.
Hey Gloria, how you doing?
Oh, hi, Paul.
So I see that you're the manual labor technician or expert here at Eddy Birchard.
Oh, yeah, I do all the stuff that nobody else wants to.
So tell us some of this. How did you and Joe meet?
Well, I had known Joe for a long time, just like everybody in town. He was the local funeral director, and my husband of 36 years passed away, and I was working at Whistle Stop, living with my sister, and Joe's late wife had just passed away, and we started talking, had a lot in common, and the next thing I know, he asked me out. So
where were you at, originally? Were you from here originally?
I grew up in Olathe, but I had lived here for about 18 years.
People's expectations of a funeral director have been completely different from what you thought it would be.
Yeah, it's pretty different than what I thought it would be. There's never really any free time. You're kind of like on duty 24/7. And I never knew that he was so, restricted in where he could go and what he could do, because you never know when you might get that call that somebody needs you.
So how have you adapted to that?
Well, after we got married, we moved in upstairs. We live here, so this is pretty much our life, on time, off time. We're always on, actually, but just part of it we spend upstairs and part of it we spend downstairs.
Now, they've got you out here digging in the rose bushes. Is that what you normally do? I've seen you before working the desk.
Yeah, I answer the phones, and I help when the families come in. I get all the vital statistic information for the death certificates, and I pretty much write all of the obituaries, so I get a lot of background on the person. I try to find out who they were and get the essence of who they were and put it all on one piece of paper.
Well, let's, if you don't mind me taking away from your work, let's go inside and talk to Joe and Jeff together, all right?
Okay, that'd be good.
So here we are with the whole family, correct?
Correct.
All right. So, do you have anything? There are several things I wanted to touch on. One was when you guys got married. You got married here, correct?
Right.
Were you the first marriage here at the funeral home? That's kind of, that's unique.
We were the first marriage outside, but not the first marriage at the funeral home.
We had our wedding outside of the big oak tree under it. Some of the Birchard families had weddings here before, some of their daughters.
So the oak tree is a very, very prominent part of the funeral home, correct?
It's big. It's noticeable. Yes,
that works.
That's become very special now.
That works. So, do you have, I talked to Jeff earlier about, plans or ideas of the future of the funeral home growing. What are your thoughts on that?
I suppose that's a possibility at some point in time, but right now we'll just be right here, do the best we can. Gloria and I moved into the funeral home. We decided to live upstairs here for several reasons, but one of them is it's handy for us in order to help people. A lot of times people normally work a 40-hour week, and weekends are the time that they maybe have time to come and visit with us. And if we're not around on the weekend, it's harder for them to get business done that they want to get taken care of.
I was talking to Gloria earlier, and she said that you're a work monster. That you answer all the phones, that you do all the work.
Well, it's just a matter of I have a cell phone on, and it's on all the time. It's 24 hours a day. Not only do we have the funeral home, but we also have rental properties. And if we have people that need something taken care of, they need to get a hold of you to do that. And so it makes it handy for us to be here even at noon hours, things like that, because a lot of people can get off. Sometimes they take them from 11 to 12, and others from 12 to 1, but at least there's a time period in there that a lot of times that if we're here, we can answer questions for them or get some paperwork done or something like that if they need.
So now, Jeff, how do you feel about the progression of the business? Going the way it's going.
Well, I think it's going great. I'm enjoying it. Maybe he's not, but I am.
So Gloria, do you see? Who I know it's family owned, family operated, but family owned, family operated with some staff. How big of a staff do you have?
Basically, there's the three of us that are full time, and we have some people that work part time.
And then that varies from time to time as to who's working and what the situation is on that. Emily McCrae is working for us this summer, and she's planning on going to getting her licenses both in embalming and funeral directing. So that's some future for us later on, I think. So. And
I think off camera, Jeff and I spoke that you answer your own phones, your own calls, you got family here at the desk in the office. You go and you pick up the deceased. You the whole thing, delivery, everything.
If we get a call at 1 o'clock in the morning, usually Jeff and I will go out to a house or to a nursing home or to a hospital. Depending on the situation. Most times two go. Sometimes one of us is all that's necessary. But we go because a lot of times there's family there. It's nice to give them a little bit of an idea of what they have questions on time schedules and when to do this or what's the next step and that type of thing. So it gives us a chance to sort of visit with them and answer some of those questions. And we also let them know if they need more questions during the night to call us. We're on the phone, so we'll answer those things. And it's just a matter of helping. It's the Eddys and the Birchards. They both lived in the funeral home, lived up above it, was part of it. They raised their families in it. It's not an unknown thing. It's just not as usual today as it was 30, 40, 50, 60 years ago. So that's a change that's happening. So. And it's handier for us. So. Works nice for us. I'm really pleased with Jeff coming back. That gives me a reason to stay on and do and keep going. And
now, back when you first started, back in the 70s, did you picture it like this? Did you picture, imagine your son coming in?
70s maybe, 80s probably not.
I think Jeff's idea was it's not a good thing because you have to get up in the middle of the night and go do stuff, and you're up sometimes a day or so without sleep because of being busy. And then I think what he got into was a lot the same type of thing, and this was, he was doing a lot of driving and stuff like that at night to make ends meet with the different sonic places he was dealing with. So all that made a difference, and just coming back here, I grew up in a small town, grew up in Mount Hope, Kansas, and had about 500-600 people, and so a lot of people knew. Most people in town knew everybody. It's not that way in Osawatomie through the years. There's a lot of the older families now, that's the kids are leaving here and going someplace else, so it's not quite the same as it was. We've handled family, for several generations, for funerals. And
now, how have things, whether it be with the equipment, whether it be with the people, how have things changed from 70s to now?
well, probably the biggest thing is the change in communications. I don't know
As far
if
as
you noticed.
technology is computer or?
Well, computers, cell phones, and all that type of thing. I think you noticed the board that we had out on the side of the building that had names of people on it, service times and so forth. We used to get a call in the middle of the night, and maybe the family wouldn't come in until 2 o'clock the next day to make arrangements. We never put anything out on the board at that point because we wanted to give the family enough time to get a hold of other family and friends that needed to be contacted so that they weren't just surprised by it. And now with the cell phones and Facebook and all that, sometimes we're on the way to the hospital to make right after the death, and somebody calls and wants to know when the service is. Calls us on the way because people with communication, the word just gets out so much faster. So that's a big change, and just the bookkeeping and that type of thing has changed a lot because of the computers and so forth.
Now, it has changed, but the way you do it has not. He still uses ledgers.
I was thinking I'd get retired before I really had to do that, but I got people that can do that. Jeff and Emily does a lot of it, and Gloria will do some of it. So I'm going to make it, I think.
Well, it looks like you guys run a great business. I want to thank you for letting me into. I want to thank you for letting me into your home and your business. I mean, this has been
You're quite welcome.
been a
Appreciate
great
it.
time, and
To tell you the truth, you made it easier than I thought it would be.
I appreciate that. I hope. This has been Paul Davis on another episode of the Business Showcase with the Eddy Birchard Funeral Home with Joe Morland, Jeff, and Gloria. And we'll see you next time.